have asked, how do you survive living in a household with 3 chicks? How do you respond to that?
It's fine.
Well,
Am I supposed to be like
a lot of people ask though.
Outnumbered or something?
That is the approach that people take, and I think that's very interesting because I always tell people you have enough testosterone to handle it all, and they go ha ha ha. But truth, I mean, it is a bit of a challenge to be the man and have all of us chicks around because we don't think the same. So
yeah, no, I mean that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you have advice for people who have kind of got a negative approach to that, and that they're headed into like having little girls in their house and they're going to raise up into women, and not being fearful of that?
Don't be a pansy and run away. That would be one.
Yeah.
And that's a nice way of saying it, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other part is, yeah, it does require that you have time by yourself from time to time.
Yeah.
You know, so there's times where it's just like, hey, you guys watch that chick flick, and I'm gonna go watch a murder movie somewhere. You know, that happens. But then also, I think it's about what you're supposed to do as a dad and a husband, is to take care of your kids. You know,
something I've been really impressed with you on is that instead of, okay, so I've experienced male persons who had all ladies, all daughters, and in their house, and they pretty much just kind of did not stay on the scene. They evaporated from the experience other than mealtime, right? You pressed in, and instead of going, oh, I don't have sons or anything like that, or trying to, you know, make the girls feel like they have to dress like a boy to be able to relate to you, you've just treated them really, really genuinely, transparently, openly about all the different things, and taught them all the stuff, you know, how to throw football all the way to riding a bike and a skateboard to using a drill and a saw and repairing vehicles and the whole nine. And you've also participated in, you know, dance-offs with your kids when they were little and all that stuff. So you have intentionally invested in a full experience of being involved instead of really kind of robbing them from getting to know the full you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why I say don't be a pansy.
Right.
Because pansies are the ones that run away and freak out and act like, you know, you should have given me a son or this kind of garbage. You know, the world works out the way it works out. And I think I've heard stories where the sperm is what actually determines what is the male or the female. So really, you know, you get kids and they turn out boys or girls, that's the dude's problem, you know? Right. So it came from you. And ultimately, who cares? It actually came from God. So like at the end of the day, maybe there's things you're supposed to learn as a dad and as a husband that's supposed to teach your kids and your daughters new things that are about the world. So like I looked at it from a couple of different standpoints. One was like, you know, maybe this is my opportunity to teach my kids about guys like me, or guys that were like me that I didn't want to be, right? Guys that I didn't want them to be around. Maybe guys that I saw in high school or college or just in the world that treated people like crap, treated chicks like crap, and I'm like, I know how to avoid those people, you know? And then, like, I can warn them, hey, watch out for this kind of jackass. Sorry. Watch out for this kind of guy, because he's going to be a jerk. He's going to be a problem. And I'm trying to not cuss, sorry.
That was all right.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you know, watch out for that, because it really, maybe that's where it really came from, is it kind of put a vengeance in my heart to make sure that my kids weren't going to be taken advantage of. Mm-hmm.
And then I think I would say...
I could tell you a story that's pretty intense on that.
And I would love to hear it, but I would just like to compliment you, because there is this, because you invested in and you pressed in and you educated and you participated, there's a higher level of protection that has been experienced.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's the dad's position, is to
should be
the protector.
That's correct.
You know, so, and it could be through teaching your kids how to watch their back.
Right.
Teaching your kids how to watch where they go and what they're being aware of. I watched all kinds of girls when I was growing up that were just ditzy. You know, what do you mean walk down the dark alley? Oh, okay. And it's like, come on. Have some, like, common sense on your head. be aware of your situation, be aware of what's around you. You know, not everybody in the world has your best interest in mind.
Right.
You know, and it's not all fun and games, goo goo gaga, and dolls and pretty butterflies to just whimsically chase down the street. You have to like have some awareness on your head. You know, situational awareness is big time, and understanding who people are and why they are certain ways, and some of the little things about, you know, hey, come here, little girl, you want a lollipop or a sucker or a, you know, popsicle? You know, be aware of what those kinds of situations are. And so for me, it was definitely that protector moment. And then I think the other part of the story I was going to tell you is just really super quick was, you know, when we were first married, I was working in the entertainment industry, and we weren't necessarily working together. So it was a couple of years where I ended up working for some other companies, and I was around a whole bunch of other guys. And so like when we worked together, we were around, for the most part, Christian people doing Christian stuff, and Christian conferences may or may not be better or not, maybe sometimes worse in different situations. But like one of the funny things was like we would get on camera and the guys were all looking for the hot chicks in the audience, right? And one of the guys came on and he had just had a daughter. He had played this game super aggressive, you know, like, you know, on camera, like, show me all the hot girls in the audience. And that was cool, and that's what camera guys do for the lot. But then this guy had just had a daughter, and he was really not into it. And he said something that was really cool. It actually was pretty amazing. And we didn't even have kids yet. And he's like, yeah, that could be somebody else's, that could be your daughter. And everybody was like, oh. And he's like, yeah, so I just had a daughter, and I don't appreciate it, so we're not doing this kind of garbage anymore. And that came from a guy that had been one of the leaders of driving this thing off the rails. And so he was like, nope, not going to do that. And I was like, wow, that was really intense. So to see somebody who had led everybody kind of in this, you know, crazy masculinity of checking out hot chicks, which is what you do, that's part of growing up too, but like at a certain point you have to grow up. That's that dependence to independence to interdependence, and an understanding what it is. It's a growing up mode. Like all of a sudden now it's fun and games when you're playing around and goofing and blah blah blah, but then you got to get serious at some point. You can't live your life to 60, 70, 80 years old playing high school and baby games you did when you were 14.
A lot of people try though.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the way of the culture. We live in an infantile world right now. Right. Where everybody is just like, it's okay for everybody to be in their 40s and still play video games and be little babies and, you know, eat Chef Boyardee and, you know, cereal. And it's like, when do you grow up? Right. When do you grow up? Oh, no. We've set up an entire culture to keep people infantile and babies, and that way they're easy to control and easy to manage. And I wanted to make sure my kids were never that. I'm not going to be that. Right. And people who need to focus on their life need to understand that you need to grow up. And the responsibilities that you're given, because it's fun to have sex, but then you got to have the responsibility, just like a fish, just like chickens, just like anything, you got to have the responsibility to step up and own every element of what you are doing in the world, and then make sure that you're a protector of that thing. And that's what God intended for us to do. So having daughters and not having sons, well, I'll eventually have a couple of sons, I'm no doubt. So that will work itself out. And hopefully those guys are growing up and getting trained by somebody somewhat similar to me, or maybe better than me, so that they are the guys that my daughters need to be with, right? And so it's raising the daughters, because I'm thinking about, well, who would have raised you before I came into the picture, right? I want them to be a certain way and know certain things, have a faith, have a belief system, have, you know, morals, have ways to look at the world, have experiences on, you know, I don't know what a screwdriver is, I don't know what a wrench is, what's a ratchet. I mean, like, all these things are really critically important, whether it's a boy or a girl. So, and I think dads are the most important part of that is having dad, because he's teaching that side of history. I've seen some reports, and don't quote me on these because I remember what I hear, but I don't always like take the notes down. But I've heard that like kids, boys and girls, that grow up in a single parent home, the ones that grow up in a single father home turn out exponentially better than ones that turn out in a single mom home. And it's because I think the dads bring this intensity of how to deal with life and understanding how life works. And I think that it's because the dad is the leader of the family. That's the way God intended it. That's the way that God set the principles of the world. He set up the rules of how the world works. and that the father is the leader of the household, and the mom is the support of that. And together, interdependently,
Right.
they create the household to make things happen. And the dad's worldview and the mom's worldviews are always going to be different because of the way God made that happen. And then the dad needs to set the tone for both the daughters and the boy and the sons of their family. So for me, is it a masculine issue? Is it I've got too much estrogen in my house or something? None of that affects me because I'm keeping my focus on what Jesus called me to be as a dad. We're keeping our relationship together is what we're supposed to be. So I'm not getting you trying to, demasculinize me because I'm trying to be, more for my daughters. I'm not dressing up in dresses and acting like this to try to relate to everybody. I'm being the guy that I want my daughters to look for as the example.
Setting the tone.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I would say that the other part too is if you're a single woman and you're out looking for your future husband, or however you believe that needs to work out, prayer works. Because there were a lot of things on my list of requests for my personal partner, my husband. And there were lots of little nuances, little weird, funny things, like, the fact that he was right-handed. Or, I know, weird, huh? Or, certain things that were just like, I didn't want to have a man that was pasty. I wanted one that had some fur and all the things, whatever. But there was specific things about, like, I wanted this person to be loving and kind and gracious with his kids, and a man that would keep his word and follow through and did prayer works. We may not have been that independently for each other's answers to prayer when we first got married, but we had all of the recipe in there to make that flesh out as we grew together in our faith and in our marriage and then in our parenting skills. And I think that, staying on the topic of you being in a house full of women and literally having, like, most of your pets are female and all the things, right? And then our business, we've had mostly female staff. Watching you get to be somebody who is compassionate and a good guide and an advisor and a counselor at times and a trainer and teacher has been really cool to see, because that is something that more men need to be confident in doing, and have the skill set given to them by their father to do.
Right.
And society has set up a lot of people to, especially masculine men, to just kind of stay in their lane.
Yeah.
And
it's to take the authority that has been put over them and have them just tell you how it's going to be.
Right.
And that's not it. That doesn't work that way. The authority of the world, you need to take that on yourself. You need to seek the truth and discover it and find it. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, I think that's absolutely spot on. No, I think it's really important that, it may sound like this particular video is to me, I thought it was important to address this, because a lot of people say, oh my gosh, how do you do it? How do you manage that? How do you stay sane? All that kind of stuff. And I'm sorry, our dog's needing out.
Always.
Yeah, he always needs out. But I wanted people to hear it from you, like your perspective on it, because it's not just, whether you need to be around other men. It's more like, your perspective on life, and your responsibility, and you're learning how to manage what you need to be independent, but that interdependence drives you to be a good example to whoever's in your life.
Yeah. And I think the masculinity and the testosterone and the ability to be that leader is by doing that thing, right? I don't need to hang around with the guys to feel like I'm something. I get that from Jesus. I get that through the fulfillment of my work. I get that through the fulfillment of being the leader that I'm supposed to do. And when I need a recharge, I just disappear. I go watch a murder movie. I go watch some, shooter up movie and do that kind of thing. And that's cool. It's fun. But then my other recharge, really, the one that actually fully recharges me, is really seeking after Jesus. Seeking after what he was doing and learning how to be the better leader, learning how to deal with the situations, praying when something comes up that I don't even know how to deal with, and seeking leadership from different places, different guides and sages and other people that are leading their families and learning how to do that. So, it's not about having to hang out with all the guys and be around the guys. That's not really what's going to fulfill me.
Right.
But it's really fulfilling through being the leader of my family, doing that the way that Jesus would do it. So that's my focus. So when somebody's like, hey, what's it like to be in a household full of women? I'm like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what God put me here for.
Yep.
I'm leading my family, and it doesn't affect me. So if you're asking me that kind of question, to me, I start questioning, like, well, what would be your problem? Like,
right. Your initial reaction, you always give me that squinty look when you hear that. You're just like, the heck? But on the flip side of it all, though, as the woman, the female leader in the household, the wife, it is my responsibility to set the tone, to not have it set up where I'm setting people's expectations to disrespect what you're leading to, or set the tone to where I'm nagging you when you're needing to break away to have time, and turning that into a negative when it's really a positive, that you're taking time for you and you're allowing and affording us to still be who we are, and watching the chick flicks. Now, I also love the fact that the girls really do enjoy, your alien movies and all the stuff with you, and it's just a delight to hear you guys geeking out and having the best time together about those things. Because sometimes it's not even just a guy versus gal thing. Sometimes it's literally just a personality thing. And I am the furthest thing from liking anything bloody and gory. But our girls love to see some of the fun sci-fi stuff with you that I don't normally naturally watch. Yeah. And you get to afford that for them. Yeah. And also in society, because there's this demasculinization thing going on, it's also this like nagging or this hyper criticism of a man's role, and or even cutting down or devaluing of the role. And my job as the wife and mother is to be sensitive to where maybe you need support in certain areas, or a backing even to a certain degree when it comes to certain times where you need to assert yourself certain ways, or take that break or whatever, to set that tone so that our daughters know how then that needs to be reciprocated for you, but also then for their husbands when they have them.
Yeah, but that's that interdependence part.
Right.
So you're like, I could be an independent man, that's fine, and I can survive that, and it would be no problem. But the interdependence of you being an independent woman, me being an independent man, and coming together and understanding what that really truly means, and fulfilling that goal, that I think the job that was given to us when we decided to take on being a married couple and then becoming parents, taking on the responsibility of doing it. And we're not the best. I've totally messed up. There's places where I'm just like, click fast forward in life and just check out, and then I realize, oh man, I missed a whole bunch of stuff that I shoulda, coulda, woulda done because I wish I was there. I wish I didn't miss this recital or whatever it was, right? So those things happen. That's how life works. But you learn that as you go along, what interdependence truly means.
Right.
And then when you follow Jesus's goal of that and read how the Bible lays that out through those things, and you begin to hear from the Holy Spirit how to connect all those things, then it just synchronizes and you're doing the right thing. So it really is about interdependence. It's about understanding what the two roles are, and it's fighting against the cultural, literally satanic garbage of trying to destroy the family, tear us apart as man and wife, tearing apart the kids and the families and getting those things in, and like one-siding it one way or the other happens, but also it can be interrupted and artificially messed up. And I think that our culture has a lot of that, where it's like it would focus more on a disrupted house and helping things and kind of trapping people into poverty through disruption, rather than focusing on building the strengths of families and really following what God's plan is for humans to be families, to have a husband and a wife and kids, and that they learn the things that they're supposed to learn as they grow up through the
Right.
challenges that we go through and everything else. But then that's why I think it's satanic. Because anytime it just tears apart God's vision for how he created the world and goes against the human success, it's not truth. It's evil.
Agreed.
And so when I hear the statement, what's it like to be in there, I question, where does that question come from? Is it a cultural question? Is it just a generic question that people ask because they see it and maybe they're having a challenge with something? But that's how it goes. And this is how it goes too.
Yeah,
You're
this
in a
is
house with
real
actions
life
happening. So
yeah, I mean, so I guess that was the big thing for me, was like, how would you address that? Because it doesn't have to be a long video about it, but I just thought it would be interesting to ask you and get it documented, because so many people kind of like, oh my gosh, how does Nate do with all you chicks in the house? Stay down.
right.
And because I live with you and I see on a regular basis how you manage, I'm never really that worried about it, but it's nice to document it and see.
Yeah.
So
Start of the show is
welcome
right here.
to our chaos, right?
Thanks, Sully.
Hi, buddy.
You're gonna sign off with these guys, so
Yeah.
I don't know if that helped anybody out there,
Yeah.
but if it did and it got you guys questioning some stuff and you have some questions, throw it in the comments. We'll check it out and let you guys know. Ask us questions. Ask me questions. Ask Heidi questions.
Right.
If you got a
He's
question for
asking
Sully.
questions. Yeah.
He's obviously
He's
worth
like
something.
he's like, I want on your
So
lap.
we'll figure
Mom.
out what's going on. We'll see what's going on with Sully.
Yeah.
But look forward to hearing from you guys and let us know if you like it. We'll talk to you guys. We'll see you on the next one.
God bless.
See ya.